And you haven't eaten it yet?
No, they were trying to make it back in time. It's all good. It'll be waiting
That's
for me.
torture.
It's fine. Nowhere else I'd rather be than on office hours instead of eating Chick-fil-A.
Okay, I sent it to the live. Okay, now we're live.
We're live.
Hi,
Oh,
Melissa.
long time no see.
Okay,
Yeah,
sorry, I
like
just had to mute over on Substack. Welcome, how are you?
I'm doing good. It is the first full week of back to school, which I feel like around here always is like a week of kind of setting into a new rhythm. I know I've had clients and people that I've been having conversations with over on the Working Writer also saying the same thing. It's like if you have kids, like your whole world gets disrupted when you go back to school, and then you figure out like the new rhythm of what it's going to be for that school year. So
It
good.
is incredibly bizarre to me that in most of the country people start school in August because in Minnesota we start the day after Labor Day and we always have. And that was through all my education. And then I worked in a school for 10 years. So it just seems so weird.
Yes, it is. So in Michigan, we're the same. They wouldn't dare start school before Labor Day. It's like the last hurrah of summer for Labor Day, and then we go into the school year. So when we first moved, and Dylan started school in Arkansas, he was in kindergarten, and they start very early down south, and we were like, "Wait, what? Like this isn't normal." And now everywhere, well, other than Minnesota, when we lived there, he starts like middle-ish kind of August. Yeah. How about you? How's your? I know you got chocolate chip cookies on a walk, so it can't be too terrible of a week that you've had.
I don't remember. I don't remember. Don't ask me to remember everything that happened this week. Which
Busy but
actually
good.
brings up the fight we're having.
Yes, we
Uh-huh.
are.
I mean, I can only operate on one day at a time here, and you say you plan your weeks?
That blows my mind. If I took each day as it came, I feel like my life would be total chaos. So I I'm a planner. Clearly, you are very efficient at what you do, but you don't plan your days ahead as it comes. So I kind of one thing I that really helped me is everything I have that's a recurring task, I put it in my Google Calendar, or I do not have to think about it, and it just tells me like what I need to do for things that are like happen all the time. And then outside of that, because there's so many like moving pieces of what's happening, I on the weekend always take a look ahead to the next week to see what's coming up, schedule everything that can be scheduled, what do I need to do, how does each day look, and then the night before I take another look at the next day and see like what's going to be happening, what meetings do I have, is everything good, can I get it all done, do I need to be anywhere at any specific times, and then move stuff around accordingly or get it done like that. So yeah, I'm very much a like planning steps ahead on what needs to take place each day.
Well, I definitely put my meetings in my Google Calendar. The recurring ones, I don't necessarily need to because they're recurring. I remember, but certainly if I have a podcast interview or something like that, I have that in my calendar. But outside of that, I just um, get up in the morning and then think about what I need to do, and I just start doing it.
It's so easy. No, for me,
And
I cannot. I struggle, and this is like I think one of those parts of being an entrepreneur, being a creative. You have to figure out how you best operate, and then like whatever your way is, lean into your strengths. And I kind of thought like, oh, like I'll just remember what to do. And for me, it spells disaster because I start feeling very chaotic. I don't when the more things I have to like hold in my brain, the worse I am at that. So every task that I can then, tell my calendar to remind me about helps me not feel so anxious, that I'm going to forget something or what's going on or all of these
I
parts that
feel
are
the
happening.
opposite. If I have
Yeah.
to, if like, so I started these task boards for publishing our novels, which is a 15-month process. But
Hmm.
then I was just spending time creating task boards that I didn't need because I know how to publish a novel. It's easier for me to just hold it in my head. And even like you say, you plan for the next day, I just need to finish the day and go to bed. And then I don't need to look at what's up next. I know I'm going to be up early before
Right.
I need to, yeah. So
We
I,
need the people to weigh in on this one because clearly we are very opposite. But I feel stressed out if I don't know going into the next day what's going to be
uh-huh.
happening. So I can look at it and see, like, okay, it's going to be a busy day. I have 10 tasks. I get up at 6 o'clock every single day. Like, I just do at the same time. That works for me. Get my workout in. Like, know when my calls are, and it gives me a comfort knowing what the structure of my day isn't going to look like. Now, I'm curious, like for you, when you were a kid or in your regular life, did you need structure around what
No.
you were doing? So I think that might be
Which
like for
made me
me,
very bad at my job. I was a
yeah,
special ed para for a number of years, and I'm like, why don't you get this? It's
right,
this, and that a lot of the students I worked with, they needed binders and folders and color coding and all that kind of
yeah,
stuff, and
yeah.
just wasn't. I can't comprehend it.
And you probably also like don't have an issue moving from one task to the other where need to like I need my brain to switch into a different mode before I jump from one thing to another, and I start getting very overwhelmed if I have to like in the middle of something and switch to something else and then go back. Like my brain's just
Mhm.
all the way in it. And so I kind of like group my day into pieces based on what I'm working, which I wanted to say. I was curious. So when we were having this fight going on, but then you added structure to your week with the working writer, and you have your scheduled times to show up and write with our writing sprints, and you were saying that you got a lot more done through that. So do you think that there's a value for you then in like say instead of saying I'm gonna write this week, like scheduling it in the calendar to show up and have your writing time?
Well, it's debatable because obviously I know I can. I've written 5 novels without the writing community, without any writing groups or anything like that. So I know I can do it. But since we started the working writer and we have these writing sprints scheduled in, it has been helpful mostly because I want to start working right away. When I get up in the morning, like I have to really challenge myself not to reply to that
So
stupid email I
opposite.
got overnight or whatever it was. And actually I exercise in the morning too, and it's like I
Yeah.
like exercise and I like how it makes me feel and I know I need it, but at the same time I just want to start working right away. um, so then when I do exercise and take my shower and then sit down at my desk, um, it is a little bit of a challenge for me to say, okay, I'm going to write first and let all that stuff
Yeah.
wait. So the advantage of the scheduled writing sprints is it gives me less of a choice. Obviously, I could still work on anything I wanted to, or I could not show up to them, but having it scheduled with other people, a writing group that definitely feels more like a stronger, and I love obligations. I love having someone say, okay, you have to do this, this, and this, and then great, that's what I'll do.
Yeah.
And then also you talked about switching from task to task. Now I can manage that pretty well as also, but having the writing sprint with the dedicated time, I feel like helps me stay just a little bit more focused. Where if I sat down by myself to do 60 minutes of writing, I might only get 45 minutes done because of a notification or something. Now I'm just more in the zone, knowing that everyone is working together at the same time. So
Yeah.
I am finding it helpful. I have
Absolutely.
to admit that.
Well, good. See, there's something to. And I think it's been really interesting too to see how many varied ways people have been using the writing sprints as well. Time for character development, time for edits, time for fleshing out ideas. Like it's not always just how many words can you get on a page in a rush in the next hour. I think it's just giving ourselves permission to spend that time in a creative pursuit, moving forward with your project is the idea behind it. And it is, I think we don't we say we're going to do these things, and yes, we still are productive and get them done, but like a full hour block is really a lot of precious time to be focused on a project and not have to answer the phone or do the other things, which is what I love about workouts as well. It's like permission for yourself and your brain to kind of relax without like
Yeah,
the
well, that's been
notifications
my
and emails.
sorry, that's been my experience with soccer games. What's
Hmm.
really refreshing is the mental break I get because there's no phones, no email. I don't feel
Yes.
like I have to do any work. I'm focused on a completely different task for 90 minutes, and it feels mentally very refreshing.
Yeah. I think it's one of the hidden benefits of working out is because it gets you away from not just your phone, but like all the other distractions as well. We need those mental breaks.
Yeah. I want to welcome Ann Clifford. If you have any input, we're just debating about whether it's planning. Do you need to plan
Right.
your day, your week, your month, or just show up and do the work? Is more my attitude.
Yeah.
I
It's
want.
kind of like a built-in to-do list for myself. I don't like micro write down every single task,
Mhm.
but it'll be like this person's newsletter needs to be done. These social media graphics need to be done for these people. So just like that quick snapshot reminder
Yeah.
that you clearly have managed in your head and I do not.
Well, when something comes in that I have to do for another person, like an editing project, I set it aside because I usually don't just start on it right away, but it weighs on me the more hours I go without or more
Mm.
days. Eventually, it's weighing enough on me that it's like, okay, I got to get to this next. This is my priority now. I was gonna say, I did What's New in Historical Fiction this week. Madeline Miller was on. No, Madeline Martin. Madeline Miller would have been cool, but it was Madeline Martin, and she has a
Equally just as amazing.
she was in her office and she had a board, a large like bulletin board behind her, and it had maybe 9 sections to it,
Mhm.
3 rows and 3 columns, and we asked her about it. What is that for? And it's her goal setting, and she talked about the stages of the goals, how she moves things from the top to the bottom based on what stage of the goal it's at. And the reason I bring that up, well, that was a very visible way
Yeah,
to see how she sets her goals and moves toward them. That's what we're going to do in the Working Writer.
absolutely.
Every month we're going to meet and set goals. The first one is this Wednesday.
Yeah, absolutely. We actually have a worksheet that will kind of take people through because I think it can feel very overwhelming or arbitrary if somebody just says, "Hey, we're getting together and we're setting goals," and you're like, "Wait, what am I doing?" Especially if you haven't been a big goal setting person before. So, one of the things that was important that we had talked about with the working writer was to not just say, "Hey, like we're a place for writers." Like we want people to get to the end of the year, the month, their novel and say, like, I made this progress quicker than I ever have before, and I really saw success on the journey through. So, um, the idea behind it is not just saying I'm working on my next novel, it's planning each month what particular pieces are you working on so that you can get to that end of the month and say, okay, I set this metric for myself. This is how far I got. Analyze what's working, what's not working, and then month after month, hopefully be able to I don't necessarily want to say improve because sometimes it's just awareness that you need. It's not always, I don't think about like leveling up and, we don't want like toxic productivity here, but it's just noticing what's working, what's not, and then adjusting accordingly. Um, Having a plan of what you're working on. So then when you do show up to the writing sprints, you can say, okay, right now I'm working through whatever phase that you're in of your novel and know exactly what you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, this will be a little new to me as also. I've never been much of a goal setter. Maybe just like vaguely I know what my goals are, but I don't actually write them down and work toward them in that
Yeah.
way. So it'll be new to me to set monthly goals and to try and reach them. I, I guess for me, I've never had an issue with like getting off track. I just know that I have to keep progressing towards what I'm trying. Like I know I want to finish my novel, so I just keep finding time, building in time to work toward it. So I'll be interested to see if I set tangible goals for the month, if that helps me get there faster. And I've
Yeah,
already
I
discovered
think
the writing sprints have helped.
yeah, I think for overachievers sometimes it can be great because you're like, give me a goal and I'm gonna crush it. And so you get the reward from that. And then for those of us that might struggle with, I know I'm working on a novel, but I'm not sure exactly what phase I'm in or how I get to the end of this phase, then it allows you to like, come to the chat and ask people for help in a specific space of, I need help. How do I edit more efficiently? How do I draft better? How do I figure out, flesh out my characters? Like whatever part of the process you're in, when you are struggling, because you see, like one of the things for me, so I did the 12-week year, and that was drastically changed how I started like seeing my year, how I started looking at the progress I was making. Um, gives you that little bit of uncomfortable space when you see like a week has ticked by and you didn't get to cross off what you were trying to do for your metrics. And it's like, well, I either need to figure this out or I'm going to get to the end of this, 30 days, 12 weeks, whatever it is, and I'm not going to have much to show for it. So I think I like the idea of awareness keeps you moving forward and making progress. And even if you set this, I mean, hopefully people aren't setting this gigantic, like we're not going to write a book in 30 days. That's not going to happen. But if you set out to do X, Y, Z at the end of the month and you make it 3/4 of the way there, and that was way faster than you've ever done it before, it's still a success at the end, because you made progress. And that's what we really want to help people do is just be making progress.
Yeah, I suppose you can adjust as you go, figuring out works best for you, and actually being able to measure your goal versus your results, and then find a place where the two meet eventually.
Yeah, and I think it's just that like days stack up. So 30 days might not seem like a lot, but when you hit a metric every day, like Kelsey was in the writing sprint the other day. Hopefully she doesn't, I mean, shouting her out. And she said her minimum word count is 500 words a day. And she hit that in the writing sprint that she had. And that was a huge accomplishment. Just imagine if you showed up every day for 30 days and wrote those 500 words, how far would you be at the end? That maybe normally you do like a big long word dump and then you don't come back to it for another 2 weeks, then you're back. Like it's the days that add up that really start to make a difference, and you can see the process working for you, not getting frustrated um in these in between stages.
Yeah. I want to welcome Rebecca. She joined us live
Hello,
on
Rebecca.
Substack. If you have any, we're talking about goal setting. We'd love to hear how you, if you set goals, if you set them daily, monthly, weekly, yearly. We'd love to hear about that. Melissa, we have to get your camera figured out. It is
It is
pulsing.
adjusting.
Yes.
I will have my tech support 16-year-old go back into the settings and see what he can do
Okay.
for me.
Be a
And I
good
try not to
idea.
move, so it doesn't autofocus on me. It's probably my problem as well.
Well, I wanted to talk to you about something else that happened this week. I had a meeting with history of fiction author Lindley Schmidt, and we were talking about, I gave her an editorial report. I read her manuscript, gave her a developmental edit, and she felt very validated because what I said went against what her previous editor said, but when it was in line with what she was trying to accomplish.
That is fascinating. So who do you trust? Which editor was
Yeah.
right in their opinion? So would you say that you've noticed, is there like a right way to handle feedback from an editor? Do you want people to agree with your edits every time? Do you want them to push back a bit? Like, how do you handle that?
Well, everyone has their own personal bias. It is hard as an editor if the writer doesn't agree with you, and then you lash out to the people that are closest to you. I have my sister Rachel who I'll text about certain things in editing. But what I think is good is that you don't have to agree. And as a professional, I understand that coming at it as an editor, same thing as an author. And what was good here with Lynn Lee was that she felt kind of she didn't agree with her initial her first editor, but it wasn't like she pushed back. She just felt like, "Are you sure about that?" kind of a thing,
Yeah.
and involved like cutting certain chapters and doing things with characters that she didn't quite see eye to eye with the editor. She gave the manuscript to me without having made those changes, and I validated the way she felt. I'm the chapter that she was supposed to cut. I said, no, this chapter, you need this chapter, and this was without any
Mm.
prior knowledge. And I
Okay.
also, validated certain scenes that I said, okay, this is the heart of the story here. And so she came back to me and she was like, yes, that's what I was feeling. So I'm glad that you can see it the same way. Really, what I did as an editor is I saw what her message was, what she was trying to get across. And my job is to help her then enhance it so that everybody can see that message. The previous editor, I guess, couldn't quite see that and was making recommendations that was taking away from the message she wanted to convey. And so ultimately, what I'm trying to get at is you as the writer, it's your story, it's your
Yeah.
message, it's your emotions poured out onto the page. And the editor, whoever it is, might not necessarily get it. They might understand from a craft perspective how to manipulate your dialogue so that it's engaging, and how to create a great climax or something like that, but they
Yeah.
might not connect with you on that deeper level of what is the heart of the story and the message that you're trying to get across to readers. So it's okay to listen to your gut. If an editor doesn't
Yeah.
like something, to ask some questions and to think hard about whether or not you actually want to, are going to make those changes or even move on to a different editor.
Yeah. And I would find it strange if an author didn't have um an idea that they were trying to present with their book and they just wrote it for the sake of writing. Like I think everybody has a passion behind what they're writing. It makes me think of the book that we're going to read for book club in the working writer, writer used to quit, and the idea of stick to the premise. And kind of the same with edits, like you have a point you're trying to make in the book. So if the editor is trying to slash things that really mean a lot to you and the story that you're trying to tell, well then maybe think about, do those suggestions um, match with what you're trying to convey in your book? And I do think it's also great to point out it's important to do research into the editor that you pick. I think a lot of people are just like, I see so many messages like, does anybody know of a good editor? And like, yes, you want a good editor, but then also you want one that understands what you're writing as well, I think, and kind of matches some viewpoints, like see if you can read or at least know of books that they've worked with so you understand how they operate as well. So it can be a good partnership between the two.
Yeah, and I've written about this on Substack before, where I asked a lot of questions of my editor, but they were too direct, and the
Mm.
editor said that I was being hostile. So you have to be careful about that too. So, for instance, I had a meeting with um, another one of our authors a few months ago, who we had a really good discussion back and forth, where we all have the same goal. We want people to enjoy the story and be engaged with the story, and to get to know the characters and all those things. And so just getting the pages, just getting the manuscript doesn't mean I completely understand what the author is trying to do with those characters and with that message. And so it is really important to ask questions, but to make sure you do it in a way that isn't offensive to the
Right.
editor and their experience and expertise and stuff like that, but also welcomes let's have a back and forth about this and see where we can
Yeah.
come together.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's like anything, if you ask, maybe can you explain to me why you suggested this rather than, well, why did you say I should do that? And then let them give you the reasons why. And then you can choose if you agree or disagree and make the edits that you want to afterwards. But um like all things, I think an edit is to make you improve the novel, and there shouldn't be an edit that happens where it's perfection, because we all have room to improve and we should want to improve. So let a good editor guide you to make your book the best it can be, because they should in theory want your book to sell well so they can edit more of your book and it becomes
Mhm.
a great business partnership as well.
I am a little scared when I deliver reports because I know I'm being critical of something they
Yeah.
worked long and hard on, and 99% of authors handle it very well, but sometimes
Yeah.
people get a little hurt.
It's a life skill, I think, to be able to handle feedback and not take it personally and to realize, especially if it's coming from a good place from someone, that it's there to help you. But I think we all at times can become, especially about things that we create, a little defensive about, the feedback that it gets.
Mhm.
Definitely.
Well, I wanted to ask you a social media question here before we sign off.
Yeah.
I was watching literary agent Jessica Berg, whose Instagram just grows and grows and grows. And she was doing Ask an Agent, these reels that were doing well. And now she switched to carousels. And they're just texts that the first slide brings up a problem and then the rest of the slides bring up a
Yeah.
solution. And then she uses an automation where it says, if you comment the word agent, I'll send you my 5 agent tips. And actually, Kelsey, you mentioned earlier, she did this with her favorite audiobook narrators, and it was pretty cool.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
so I was like, oh, let me try this. And it works so much better than just a static post. The
Yeah.
carousels do way better. And now I'm starting to use ManyChat where I can actually send them a link because Instagram doesn't have links, but if you can DM them the link. So I'm sending out people free books. A great example was The Water Lilies of Mishapeshu did not sell well, but it's a wonderful story, and I want people to find out about it. So I did a carousel post about that, hey, here's the story that didn't do real well, but we believe in it. And it's gotten 200 comments, and all those people get a free ebook delivered right to their DMs. So I'm like, well, I didn't know about this until recently. Maybe authors out there also don't know about it. Have you been working with authors who are doing this?
I don't. I think most tend to still stay with the book funnel model of like sending out a link through getting people to subscribe to their newsletter instead. So I definitely think it will start taking off more. And I think the carousels are performing so well right now because typically the ones that are performing well are solving some sort of issue for people, like addressing a problem, a pain point. And so you want to then know how to fix the pain point, or like an agent with like, here's how to get noticed. Like, yes, you have a ton of people looking for that information. A book, people, you start spelling out the plot and then people are hooked and they want to know more about the book. But I think also um we talked a lot about with content like hooks, disruptors kind of in scrolling through your feed because people just keep swiping and swiping, and the carousel is a sideways swipe. So I think over time people are going to start to become kind of immune to them like they do with everything, but right now they're pretty hot. Because I think these things are so subtle in your brain, right? But you stop and then you're swiping like it's like dating app. You're swiping to the side instead, and you want to keep swiping rather than like swiping up. I don't know. I've never been on a dating app, but I'm assuming they always say swipe right or whatever it is. So I'll compare it to
It
that.
depends on the app.
Okay, but it's different than the norm of scrolling and
Yeah.
swiping on TikTok and Instagram. So I think that breaks people out of the pattern, and then they want to keep kind of seeing the content because it's like, oh, another solution. I saw one that's from someone else, and it's been quotes that they do for theirs. It's a pretty big account, and it's like specific quotes to women in business, and each one is different. So you kind of have that feeling of like, ooh, is the next one going to resonate with me? Oh, is the next one going to resonate with me? And then I think theirs is comment, whatever, and they'll send you like a guide to how to make your own quote graphics that explode or go viral or whatever like that. So it's, I think, dual purpose is why they're doing so well. And I think we'll continue to see. I mean, there's many chats, there's other versions, but anything that makes it easy for people to ask for information rather than like they don't have to type in their email address right there, like it takes them out of it,
Mhm.
I think helps get the information into their hands quicker.
Well, it's really tempting because I see them doing so well. So I'm like, well, I want to make some more, but they do take me a while, about 45 minutes, because you have to put together all the slides,
Yeah.
And you have to put together the caption, and you have to put together the many chats, the automated DMs, and all that does take time. But it's like, well, gosh, it's working so well.
Right.
I feel like it's something I should spend my time on. Then it takes me away from other things.
Maybe we need a social media sprint added into the mix where we
That's a good
spend one
idea.
hour for
No,
the week and we create
honestly,
a, yeah.
let's do a social media batch party, and
Okay,
once a week we can all
we'll add that in.
batch our social media content. Lisa, what
Yeah,
do you think of that? Lisa has joined us, so she can let us know in the comments. She's our
absolutely.
co-administrator. This has turned into a meeting all of a sudden.
That's true. That is true. Yeah, I don't know if we solved our fight in this 30 minutes today. I think we're still uh planning versus your randomness in your brain, just thinking through your day, which I'll never
There
understand.
must
But
be a certain percentage of people. Let's ask AI, how many people need to have plans? Type A versus
yeah,
type B, maybe is all it is,
yeah.
and
Yeah, I think some people feel restricted by writing out a plan, and then there's those of us that the structure helps us feel like we know what's going on, and then I can just do the things because I know it's there.
an important question for a travel partner, I suppose, if you're going to travel somewhere with someone, do you need to have
Yeah, is spontaneity or no? Then you'll know how your travel partner will be like.
All right.
Uh,
Lisa just says I think that sounds great. So she's on
Good.
board.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll add that into the mix. I think that will be fun. And then maybe I can give some suggestions of posts that are performing well for the week. And then people can kind of get some ideas for content and then create from there.
Yeah,
We'll get it figured out.
definitely.
And what's our next at the working writer? Let's see. Today is what day? Friday. So you have some sprints coming up this weekend, right? So I saw you
I'm doing
added
a
another.
sprint tomorrow, an hour and a half, because last Saturday we did an hour and a half, and then that was went by just as quick as the hour did, and we got
Yeah,
more done. So I did another hour and a half,
perfect.
and then Monday writing sprint, and then Wednesday's our first, really non-writing sprint event with the
Yeah.
goal setting.
And that's a 30-minute event. I believe, if I remember that correctly. So we'll get in, we'll talk about what we're doing, planning, and then have some time for people to write while they're there in the moment to get it figured out and have a productive week. That's the goal.
Yeah. And we'll be back here with office hours September 11th. I will be out of town, so we're going to have a substitute.
I'll be here.
Okay.
All
Well, thanks, Melissa. Thanks, everybody. And
right.
we'll see you next time on our live office hours.
Take care, everyone. Bye.